Hey there vegetable growers, and welcome to my digital garden where the sun is always shining. I like to spend some time here in the winter months, and it's an important space for me because I can experiment with different bed layouts, and most importantly, I can make mistakes here before I make them in the real world, and that can save me a lot of time and money in the long run. If you're still planning your garden layout on paper or potentially even just winging it, not even planning things at all, then I hope this video will open your mind to the value of creating a digital version of your garden plan. The program I used to create this 3D world is called SketchUp. You can get started with an online version for free. I'll leave a link to that below. The question is it worth your time? So to help you decide whether or not you'd like to go this route, I put together this video to share 4 of the major benefits that I see in taking the time to create a digital version of your garden plan. Let's get started. Oh, but first I guess we got to get back to the real world. Oh yeah, rocket boots. Before we start, I wanted to just pause here for a moment to emphasize that this is not a full-length tutorial about how to use all of these features in SketchUp. If it was, it would take an hour. I've got that lesson. It's inside our Vegetable Academy classroom. In this video, I simply want to highlight some of these great features in SketchUp and help you understand how they could benefit you as you're planning your garden. So you're going to see things play out on the screen that you don't always understand, but if you just watch and follow along with the explanation, you should be able to imagine the benefits here. And then at the end of the video, you could decide if this is a program that you'd like to try using to plan your garden. Okay, so let's get started with the first benefit. Every other digital garden planning tool that I've seen forces you to start with a blank slate in the middle of nowhere, but SketchUp allows you to import overhead street views or satellite images into your drawing space. These images are surprisingly accurate, and they can give you some helpful points of reference when you're just starting to lay out your garden space. I should note that the importing of satellite images is not an option in the free version of SketchUp, but there is a workaround. If you just grab a screenshot of your site from Google Maps, you can import that image and match the scale with your map view. Then you're all set, and you'll still have your satellite image inside your SketchUp file. Now all of the buildings, fences, and trees on my site are visible right inside my drawing and in the right spaces. But now that they're here, I don't necessarily want to see all of these extra images all the time. So what I'll do here to get my drawing started is create my own digital piece of paper or land surface to draw on, and then assign the satellite image and map view to different layers so that I can hide these layers whenever I don't want to see them. So here you can see my blank sheet of land that I'm about to draw on, and anytime I want, I can reveal the map view or the satellite image for reference. I can even change the transparency of each item so that I can see through my paper when I need to refer to my satellite image underneath. The next benefit of drawing your garden digitally is the time savings. Of course, if you're totally new to SketchUp, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve to overcome, so the first few things you draw are going to feel slower, but in the long run, the time savings are significant. Vegetable gardeners typically have repeating patterns and some standardization in their bed layout, and SketchUp can make quick work of any duplication tasks in your drawing process. If you were drawing 20 garden beds by hand, you would just need to draw each of them one at a time. But in SketchUp, you can draw one bed, then copy and paste it 20 times. And if I wanted to turn those 20 beds into 40 beds later on, I can copy and paste all of them in one action. I also save a ton of time whenever I need to make changes. If I want to consider a different orientation of my beds, I can easily select the beds in question and rotate them with a few clicks. Or if I define one of my standard beds as a component before I copy it, then I can make edits to one bed that affect all the other beds. For example, let's say I wanted to change the depth of our kitchen garden beds to 24 inches. If these beds were organized as components, then all I would need to do is edit this one bed and all of the other beds will be edited at the same time. That's a huge time savings. Where SketchUp starts to get fun is when you transform your two-dimensional garden into 3 dimensions. The push-pull tool makes this really easy in SketchUp, so it doesn't take long to bring my site plan to life by adding 3-dimensional buildings, garden beds, or fences, and I can even import more complex objects like trees and shrubs to make my drawing more realistic. Now, when I'm designing building renovations or outdoor landscapes, I like to sketch out a perspective drawing of my design by hand to help me imagine what it would look like in real life. But I can guarantee that my proportions would not be 100% accurate, so even my best sketches are going to be somewhat misleading. That's why I really appreciate that this 3-dimensional SketchUp world, however, is 100% accurate all the time. And I especially like that even though I just have one digital drawing, I can place my viewpoint at any location in this drawing and collect as many different views as I want without having to create more drawings. If I wanted multiple 3D perspective drawings done by hand, I would have to start each one from scratch, imagining myself in a different location each time. But SketchUp allows me to collect all of these different views from the same file without any additional work. The benefits I've described until this point are nice, but you still may be thinking that you wouldn't mind taking the extra time to draw your garden by hand. I get it. I like to draw, and I would much rather spend my time drawing by hand than working on a computer. But this last benefit is just too amazing to ignore. It is the ability to cast shadows. Once I have created my 3D world and I've told SketchUp exactly where I'm located on planet Earth by importing my terrain, I can then turn on the shadow feature to display shadows that will be cast on my garden site. And these aren't just random shadows to give you an idea of where the light may fall. You can actually display the real shadows that will be cast on any day of the year and at any time of that day. Thanks to this feature, you'll be able to see how significantly the shadows in your garden change throughout the year. This will help you identify the best growing areas and the shadier areas that you should probably just avoid. This shadow information really influenced the location of our high tunnel. Had I not simulated the shadows in this area before building the tunnel, I would have built it far too close to our home, and the southernmost beds would have been shaded from August onward. That really would have diminished my growing potential in late summer. But since I could simulate and observe these shadows exactly before building the high tunnel, I knew that I should move the tunnel further north, and I even boosted the outer beds by 2 feet so that the crops in this bed would have full access to sunlight into September. Small details like this ended up making a big difference for us. If you have any tall obstacles at all around your garden space, then this shadow simulator will really benefit you in your quest to maximize sunlight for your vegetable crops. So those are the 4 most notable benefits for using SketchUp to help plan your garden space. I'm not suggesting that SketchUp is an essential tool that every grower must use for their vegetable garden, and for that reason I have not included it as a core lesson inside my Seed to Table course. But since SketchUp features are relevant and certainly quite helpful, I did add a new SketchUp tutorial for our course members this month that walks through the creation of a 3D garden plan in detail. And members, of course, can find that lesson inside our online classroom. I hope this video has at least encouraged you to plan your garden a little more carefully, whether you decide to draw it digitally or by hand. Yes, it can take some time to plan your garden well, but that time you invest up front can prevent some costly mistakes in the long run. And on that note, if you'd like to take the fast track to self-sufficiency and improve your entire vegetable game, then my Seed to Table course has everything you need. You can find a link to that in the description. See you in the next one.